Welcome back to News Geelong. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we're on the greatest ground of all, Simmons Stadium in Cardinia Park. Let's go to the inner sanctum now and see what's happening with the head coach, Chris Scott.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, effectively we've been going for 2 weeks with our younger players, but to have the full list in today is exciting. We've got a very small injury this too, so we should have most of the guys out there on the track, and it's only the start of the hard work, one for the pre-season but also for the season proper. I mean, we've got some big challenges in front of us, and the way the guys have shown up this morning suggests that they're ready for that challenge. Yeah, I'm comfortable that we've got enough time relative to our opposition. I think we would always like a little bit more time to prepare the players, but we're cognisant of the fact that the players need their break, especially the way footy's played these days. It's a pretty brutal game, and they have a pretty tough existence, a tougher existence than I think most people give them credit for. So they've had a good break now. We still get effectively 3 weeks before we break for Christmas. Should give them a good enough base to come back post-Christmas and get into it, because as you say, it starts pretty quickly in that post-Christmas period. Well, I mean, that's the other part of it. The professionalism of our senior players is such that they should be able to come back in and be ready to go straight away. And we had a time trial this morning, and our senior players at least indicated to us that they're ready to go if we're going to judge them from those results. So they haven't been here training officially, but it looks to us as though they've looked after themselves really well, and they're motivated to kick off the season the right way. Who came second? That's the more relevant question. Yeah, so the obvious one, Mark Blitzar's won it. Joel Selwood and Steve Johnson are running pretty well. Yeah, Dan Menzel's the obvious long-term one. He is back running and looking pretty good at training, but don't expect to see him until about mid-year. And even then, it's a bit of an unknown. He's obviously got a lot of boxes to tick with change of direction and those sort of things before we even consider even match simulation drills. So he's a fair way off. The guys that didn't play much footy last year are in good shape. Hamish McIntosh is in full training, not injured at the moment. I shouldn't say at the moment. He's healthy and is going to stay that way. Josh Cowan didn't play much last year or the last 18 months really, with Achilles and hamstring problems. He's looking in really good shape. Travis Barco's back, healthy after that shoulder issue. We really, Corey Enright and Dawson Simpson missed the latter stages of the season last year. They're pretty much ready to go. So we don't really have any, besides Menzel, any real long-termers. The short answer is yes, but not significantly more than any of our other players. Hopefully we're not going to talk too much about Tom's back. I probably shouldn't even start talking about it now, because as of day one of the pre-season for him, he's coming in uninjured and really unmanaged. His training program is just the same as the other players in his category. So, I hope that that's something we don't need to keep talking about, because it obviously affected his football. But it's not a debilitating issue. If you saw Tom in the street, you wouldn't know that he had a problem. It's something that affected his footy a little bit, and everyone's really confident that he can move past it and get back to his best footy this year.
It became a week-to-week thing at the end of last year. Is it now just the rest has been enough, or did he have to do anything in the off period to sort of get it right?
Again, very similar. The work he did was very similar to the work that the other players do. He does have an individual program, so in some respects it's a little bit different, but there was no surgery, nothing significant that Tom needed to do. He's come back after having a little bit of treatment in the off-season, absolutely, but he's come back ready to start a full program day one, which is a great sign. The fact that the other teams keep getting better. Yeah, that's the biggest one. I mean, if there was ever a day where you could pencil in wins or make assumptions about the quality of the opposition, that's certainly changed now. Where, I would suspect there'd be 14 clubs at least, standing here today expecting to play finals next year, and that makes for an unbelievably competitive environment. We've lost some extremely talented players over the last 3 or 4 years from this footy club. Sure, we've got a lot of faith in our younger players, but it doesn't make it easier short term. It makes it harder, and combined with the fact that the opposition keeps getting better, We need to get everything right to compete. Well, it's a little bit different, but it doesn't feel that different to last year. Last year was different, the year before was different again. Every year there's a turnover of players. I think in my 3 years at Geelong, 22 players that were here aren't here anymore. So it does have a little bit of a different feel. Lose a few really high quality older players, lose some experience, but hopefully we'll gain some experience from our younger players getting more exposure to AFL football. So it's challenging for us. Our list is different. We've lost some incredible players, so we're all going to need to improve, but I think that drives us. It's really difficult to make any judgments in the first week or so. Our rookies are really here for the first day today, but the one thing that we can be really confident in is the character of our boys. I think we have a lot of faith in our recruiting team and Stephen Wells in particular, but first impressions do count, and those 7 guys all seem to be really strong characters, and that it's important to all clubs, but it's very important to us. We're confident in their ability. They wouldn't be here unless we thought they had the potential to be long-term AFL players, but they seem like really strong characters, and that's the way we like it. No, I would expect them to be training with the squad, almost unencumbered by Christmas at least. It's a little bit hard to say for sure, but we don't think that their injuries last season are going to impact on their pre-season too much. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. And if I limit the answer to that question to the on-field, I think that it's never been more competitive. I think a number of clubs have made long-term investments in their lists, and the days of the short-term fix are probably over, which means that it seems to me that there's a big group of clubs that have been building for a long time, and they're ready to have their day in the sun. So it makes it, the way the system's set up, makes it even harder for the clubs that have been up in the top 4 for a long period of time. So if we separate then the on-field to the off-field for a second, then I think there's still some work to be done on that, but I think most people have their hearts in the right place and are moving in the right direction on that one. Well, we're open to it. Yeah, we are. We would like to think that we have a development-based program. We try to bring talent in through the draft as our first option, but we're open to free agency and trading at the right time as well. It was pretty quiet for us this season. That's not to say that we think we've got it right, but we are relatively comfortable with our list and the young players that we've brought in. But in 12 months' time, that might change a little bit. We're always open to good players coming to our club. Well, I hope there is. Yeah, I hope there is. We've got a lot of work to do to keep up with the sides that are improving from the bottom half of the ladder. But the clubs that have been up the top, probably, as we stand here right at the moment, are going to be the ones to beat. We have prided ourselves on playing well in big games against the best opposition, and unfortunately, the last couple of years we've fallen a bit short in that respect. So, 5 points from a grand final, you still classify that as a pretty good season. But I suspect Hawthorn are going to be better next year as well. So, hopefully we can knock them over next time. Oh, I don't think so. No, it's a little bit of a different program for us this year. It's different for them as well. So we're not ruling anything out, but we haven't programmed that into our pre-season at this stage. Yeah, we've had a few conversations. The AFL hosted a Laws of the Game summit up on the Gold Coast in conjunction with the draft. So we certainly have discussed the match review panel and some of the potential rule changes at length. The discussions are still at a confidential stage at the moment. But yeah, all those things, it's been really productive. Mark's done a great job of opening his department up to the clubs and the various stakeholders to have their say, and I'm really encouraged about how open they've been with all the coaches in particular.
Just on the youth, last week Michael Turner of the Geelong Falcons publicly stated that Darcy Lang will be a 200-game player.
That's good.
Now, I know. As a former high draft pick, how do you go about that pressure?
Well, I think the young players are more accustomed to it than ever. If Darcy goes on to play 200 games with this footy club, we'll all be ecstatic. Unfortunately, the stats don't really suggest that that's a probability, much less a guarantee. So Darcy's got a lot of work in front of him, but I completely concur with Mick's view that Darcy's a really talented young man and has the work ethic to match. So handling the pressure, I think, is something that you view in retrospect. Darcy's a level-headed kid, and we'll do our best to sort of temper those expectations a bit. But really, we shouldn't shy away from the fact that it's a great opportunity for all our boys to come into a good club and write the next chapter in the Geelong Footy Club.
And here comes Mark Blissarves now, who won the time trial earlier. Thanks to that, Mark. And we're going to go to another break, but there'll be plenty of sport up ahead.